Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters. PGO Milcraft here with a best of 3 between the two players. Up here we have the Zerg player, coLMVPDRG, which is also Complexity's MVPDongRaeGu, as he has come to be known. And his opponent down here is RGNKiwikaki. RGN stands for the team Rain. The reason I'm calling him Colonel is COL is the sign for Colonel. But it's actually Complexity and MVP. It seems that all of the Korean teams have now kind of acquired a foreign team that is associated with them because the GOM-TV rules allow them to use that foreign team in competitions and stuff like that. Team Liquid was associated with OGS for a while, and that's why like the OGS players all are good friends with like Huck, for example, and Jinro, who had been training in Korea with them for quite a while. So it is Complexity's MVPDongRaeGu. He is really a member of Team MVP, but they're associated, so that's why they keep their names together. Rain apparently does not have an association, so that's why it is just Kiwikaki. This map is MLG's Shattered Temple. You can tell it's MLG's version because there is no cross-spawning, which would be, if you could follow the mini-map, these two bottom spots and these upper spots would be cross-spawning if they spawned on both of those locations. And there is also a supply depot here. Now we see that it looks like Kiwikaki is in fact going for a forge fast expand. You can tell because he put the pylon on the low ground right there. Meanwhile, it looks like DongRaeGu is in fact opting for a speedling expand, which actually will probably put him a little bit behind economically because of the fact that he's going for Kiwikaki is going for that forge fast expand. To talk about the players just a little bit while I get a chance. Kiwikaki, alright, so he is going to have to get the forge first as a result of his opponent getting the spawning pool first. So, but Kiwikaki, very good foreign Protoss, one of the better ones. Maybe a top 5 Protoss foreigner, maybe. He's certainly worse than Naniwa, certainly worse than Huck. My knowledge of foreigners is a little limited, so he's a little bit worse than that. His best finish is actually he lost to Naniwa in the finals of MLG Dallas, which was in April, I think, or something like that of this year. Look at that nice placement of the probe right there, able to block the hatchery. DongRaeGu, on the other hand, is an extremely good player. Definitely, I would consider him a top 5 Zerg player, although there's been a lot of really promising Zerg players in the Korean circuit, which have been kind of rising. Leenock has been absolutely on fire recently. And yeah, go ahead and watch Leenock in the GSL finals of the last Code S. He was just absolutely terrific. I won't give away the results there, though. And DongRaeGu, let's see, so... Oh, and, you know, there's some other ones. Lucira is very good, Nesty is obviously amazing, and so on. He's actually opting for Zix Zerglings right now, which is kind of interesting, because it seems to me that he's actually overmaking Zerglings, unless he's planning to go for some sort of Baneling bust, which is very possible. But on the other hand, I would have said probably 2 or maybe at most 4 Zerglings as a result of the fact that he knows his opponent is going for a Forge Fast Expand, as his Overlord can attest to with that cannon firing at him right there. But, alright, but DongRaeGu he's primarily known as a Terran sniper. They call him the Terran killer, actually. I would say he's kind of less typecast as that result. He was particularly good in Code, in the Team League at killing Terran players, but more recently, he's just kind of been good overall. And actually, I've seen some impressive ZVZs from him as well. I would say probably his ZVP is his worst matchup, maybe, if I'm just trying to kind of hazard a guess right there. It's kind of a curious wall-in from him. He is getting 2 gateways. What I think that means is that if DongRaeGu opts to get a 3rd hatchery quite quickly... Oh, okay. So if he gets a 3rd hatchery quite quickly, which it looks like it is going to be out of the gold right here, then actually he's going to chrono boost out like maybe 4 to 6 zealots and try to take out that hatchery. It's kind of, it's one of those metagaming things where it's like, okay, the Protoss wants to go economy, so their response to the Zerg going economy is to go a Forge Fast Expand. Zerg's response to that is to go even more economy by getting a 3rd hatchery just droning up incredibly hard. And then the Protoss's responses to that is to go double gateway and then try to apply as much pressure as possible. By the way, this is also why he got 8 Zerglings, actually. It's also why DongRaeGu opted for 8 Zerglings, is he wanted to get these quick 3rd on top of the gold minerals, and it comes down at 6 minutes, which is a fairly early 3rd considering his opponent. Like, not super, super early, but fairly early considering his opponent Forge Fast Expanded. And now the other benefit of these Zerglings is they will help defend that hatchery as well against these Zealots. And actually, these Zerglings are not going to opt to run in or engage the Zealots. Looks like they're just going to go ahead and run away. So we do have 2 more Zealots on the way for Kiwikaki right now. Possibly going to be aiming. Yep, he is chrono boosting out those Zealots, so probably we'll be getting 2 more. And then we'll maybe try to go out. But actually, he is going to be supply block. Oh, no, he's not. I looked at the wrong supply marker. Meanwhile, this Overlord gets absolutely free reign because Cybernetics core, as it's called, just went down, so that's very recent. Now, DongRaeGu is actually going to get a very large mineral boost at this point in time. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on Kiwikaki, actually, in order to... I looked like he's going to try to take down these rocks and expand right here to this little corner expansion as quickly as possible, as... you know, his opponent's going to get that huge influx of minerals as a result as soon as that hatchery pops. And there's not really a whole lot that you can do about it when you're Protoss and you're going for a Forge Fast Expand, unless you want to go for like an 8-gate all-in or something like that. I mean, there are other things you can do too. But in general, it's fairly difficult to deal with, especially you know, with the huge influx of minerals that they are getting from that. The production is going to kick in from that fairly soon, so it's going to require a somewhat specialized response from Kiwikaki. He's sending out 6 Zealots right now, but unfortunately for him, DongRaeGu is already prepared for this. He just finished 7 Roaches. He has an 8th on the way. No, maybe that's a 7th on the way. So he's got 6 Roaches. Roaches are extremely good against Zealots, especially on Crete. They can kite them all day, and he has the Zerglings to boot. So I think Kiwikaki is actually going to have to go ahead and send those Zealots home. That middle Zealot right there wanted to keep on running. No, guys, where are you going? And this Zealot buddies are like, whoa, whoa, bud. You've had a little bit too much to drink. Go ahead, back it off. You don't want to engage there. And 13 new drones on the way. And then we're going to see DongRaeGu is actually probably going to try to fill out his hatchery. Meanwhile, we see a Stargate is now producing a Void Ray for Kiwikaki right there. Looks like Kiwikaki is also just doing a little bit of micro. It's a pretty nice micro, actually. I'm not sure. He might have lost his Zealots. I'm going to check the units last time. He did lose 2 Zealots, actually. Oh, no, 1 Zealot, 2 probes. My mistake. So he lost just 1 Zealot there. That nice little micro saved that Zealot at 19 health. He was only 2 Roach hits, or a Roach hit and a Zergling hit away from meeting his maker, which in this case is the Zalmog, I guess. Kind of interesting that this Overlord is still alive. Unfortunately for him, the Stargate is built way over here. Very nice job from Kiwikaki, placing that in the correct position so that it can't be spotted by any kind of errant Overlords that like to hang out right in the middle of the base. And looks like this Overlord is most likely going to be taken out. Yes, it does. It explodes in a huge fashion of gore. It looks like this Zealot is just going to check to see if there are any additional expansions going up. He wants to make sure he doesn't fall behind economically any farther than he already is. Meanwhile, these Zerglings are going to take out these rocks. That's going to open up the possibility for a flank attack for him. It is worth noting, by the way, I don't think I talked about this before, that the Zealots do have +1 attack, and because DongRaeGu does not have a +1 Carapace at this point in time, Zerglings are going to die in 2 swings to Zealots. Nice cannon placement right there, able to protect the Zealots, save that 19 health Zealot again from being taken down. Looks like this Zealot is going to walk in, but probably is just going to walk into his doom, as the Spinecrawler will be finishing at right about the exact time. Looks like a Phoenix is going to come around. And now we do have, in fact, 2 Void Rays. Kiwikaki waited to show both Void Rays at the exact same time, and that is going to, in fact, take out that Queen. There is a Spellcrawler coming. He's going to want to focus that down before it can get planted. In fact, he will be able to do that. That Phoenix will be able to pick up any additional Queens that are coming around. And a Hydralistan is not quite completed. He is building a large number of Spore Crawlers, but Kiwikaki very intelligently is targeting both of those down, and is going to be able to deal a lot of damage to these Void Rays. Quite possibly kill the hatch, but I would doubt it. But most likely just cause a lot of economic damage, make the Zerg player over-respond by building a lot of Spore Crawlers right now. And in fact, it looks like he is going to go ahead and target down the hatchery. Hatchery will go down very, very quickly as a result of these attacks. There is a drone down here, not quite sure why that's going on. And this attack, is suffering huge amounts of damage. Some very nice force fields. We're able to quarter off a huge portion, entirety of DongRaeGu's army, and able to take it out right here. Meanwhile, the Queens are being lifted and taken out. This Spore Crawler is going to get planted, and unfortunately that's going to prevent him from being able to take out the hatchery, but it came at the cost of 2 drones and the entirety of DongRaeGu's army. Kiwikaki taking a large lead right there. It looks like he's going to get a Nexus in. Unfortunately, the Zerglings will have a say about that, and Kiwikaki will probably have to work with some Zealots once DongRaeGu realizes that those rocks have been taken out and the Zerglings are able to free to do something else. That's actually not a very good idea, moving back into that Spore Crawler. He's probably going to want to try to get some more free kills. He's probably going to maybe focus fire that hatchery right there, but the Queen is going to scare him away. And you know what, honestly, there would be no harm in just going ahead and going home. He took some damage on the Void Ray. It's not that big of a deal considering the amount of damage he caused. The huge overreaction that he sparked as a result of him having Void Rays in his opponent's base. You know, he had to build 7 Spore Crawlers. It's a ton of drones. It's a lot of minerals on top of the drones that was there that really had to go into that. And Kiwikaki is actually still behind on supply, somewhat curiously, but Protoss players are generally behind on supply a lot more than this at this point in time. These Hydras are already going to take out a Void Ray. Oh, barely not able to take that out. I think actually with a little bit better control, DongRaeGu could have taken out that Void Ray. He decided not to, or he just had a little bit of less than perfect micro, so was not quite able to take it out. So it looks like Kiwikaki will be able to go home with his Void Rays. Oh, but bad control is going to lose that Void Ray anyway. He didn't want to send that all the way home, not stop it in the middle to stop for some sort of coffee break or something. And he doesn't even have the excuse of claiming the Watchtower because he's flying and he can't take the Watchtower. It looks like this is actually going to be somewhat of an all-in attack now from DongRaeGu if he goes ahead and moves in. Part of the reason why it's an all-in attack is there are so many force fields here that it can really, I mean, if you try to run away with Hydra's off creep with force fields, you're really going to lose the vast majority of them. DongRaeGu opts not for that attack and is actually going to go around for the flank attack. Kiwikaki smells it though. He's sending his Zealot up to check on that just to make sure. Meanwhile, this Void is smartly targeting down that hatchery. Is going to take down one Hydra before it gets does not get that Hydra kill. Looks like this attack is going to be moving in on the flank right now. DongRaeGu needs to be very careful. The force fields here are very scary from the Protoss player. Kiwikaki does have great force fields. Perfect force fields, able to segment off a huge portion of the army. Unfortunately for him, it's also going to prevent the rest of his ground forces from engaging unless he walks the Colossus through those force fields. Which looks like he's not going to do. He's just going to try to trade as much of DongRaeGu's army against him as possible. And he's actually trading very favorably right now, dealing a lot of damage to these Zerg forces. Now, he did lose the Nexus, which represents a lot of lost resources, but on the other hand, he destroyed DongRaeGu's entire army again, but he's actually still behind on supply. I want to say it's got to be because of this gold base right here, which is just keeping DongRaeGu juiced up, and he's able to constantly remax with the forces that he has. It's also worth pointing out that he does have a macro hatch right here, and is starting a 4th expansion right here, as we saw with the Void Ray, which was trying to take it out. So, Kiwikaki seems to be in a decent position. That Colossus is going to be incredibly helpful. I think he just finished a 3rd Colossus. No, he will finish a 3rd Colossus, and he will have thermal lances, which is going to be incredibly useful in this sort of attacking situation as well. I don't think he even has a Twilight Council, actually. So he's double expanding right now, so he's going to try to hold on for dear life. This is going to be very difficult for a Protoss player to hold, though, as the Zerg force is really just much stronger than the Protoss force in terms of being able to outmaneuver it. But he's got some Zealots back here. That'll be able to help just a little bit. However, the focus down of the Forge is going to allow the entirety of the Zerg army into his base. He's got to be very careful right here, as he's going to lose a lot of drones, or a lot of probes, rather. Warping in some Zealots right here that'll be able to keep the Zerglings and the Roaches busy. Meanwhile, the Phoenixes are going to lose his forces, and DongRaeGu is actually losing his forces left and right. He's going to lose an entirety of another army and actually caused very little economic damage there. I can't believe how little economic damage he actually ended up causing this time, as Kiwikaki handled that almost perfectly, warping in the Zealots almost exactly in the correct spot, and able to respond very perfectly. And looks like Kiwikaki is now able to take a supply lead. There are some Zerglings over here, however, some warped Zealots will buy enough time, ideally, for the rest of the army to come back and show DongRaeGu exactly what is up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the worker count, as we haven't really been doing that. We do see that there is a 9-worker lead right now for Kiwikaki, so he should be rolling in the dough right now just as soon as he transfers his workers between all 3 bases and gets the gases up and running, as that's usually what's most important for the Protoss player. Looks like these Phoenixes are going to fly around, and yeah, if they spot these Overlords, they should be able to take all those Overlords out. That'll be even more pain for DongRaeGu that he's going to have to try to deal with. But a huge counterattack right now. Look at all these Zerglings just streaming in. These sentries are all going to be taken out. That's very unfortunate for him. However, those Roaches are being taken out as well. Looks like the Zerglings are probably going to try to partially focus firing the Nexus and partially try to take out as many probes as possible. He's trying to cause as much economic damage as possible. And you can see how fast his supply dip right there. Kiwikaki's supply dipping below 150. Tried to burrow those Zerglings. Unfortunately for him, the Observer was able to spot that. And if you didn't catch it, there were 2 pylons built right here. And I'm not sure if they were designed to prevent Zergling retreat or to prevent Zerglings from sprinting down here and attacking this expansion as well. But actually, wow, see, another counterattack is going to go ahead and move in. That's a huge block of Mutalisks. Wow, I did not realize that he was actually building 18 Mutalisks right now. This would be very difficult right now for Kiwikaki to deal with. As his Twilight Council has just finished, he's going to want to start working on... Oh god, that robotics base can be taken out too, and the fleet beacon. One of the things I probably should have mentioned is Kiwikaki has been known for going Mothership in the past. Actually, if he starts the Mothership, it'll be fine. Oh, he did not start the Mothership in time. So it looks like Kiwikaki is actually just going to go for the base trade scenario, as he did lose a lot of probes. Well, it looks like he did lose 20 probes. He did end up transferring a large portion of his probes right here, so he's going to see how much damage he can do, actually. And this is a very scary army. He does have 4 Colossus. The Colossus only have 1 weapons, and as soon as Blink finishes with those Stalkers, it's going to be very important for dealing with that as well. I think some bad control actually has lost him as an Observer. Is that correct? Yes, he did in fact lose his Observer, and I do not believe he has a robotics facility. Yes, I do not see a robotics facility around, so that actually means that he will not be able to pick off any burrowed Zerg units. Extremely. Oh, and these sentries are going to be caught off guard as well. Looks like the sentries are all going to be taken out. You can see them dwindling, their life flashing before their very eyes as they get taken out right now. A little bit of back control right here from Kiwikaki in this base trade scenario. And it looks like the Zerglings are going to get a very nice surround, as well as the Mutalisks are going to be able to pick off as many of the Stalkers, if not all of the Stalkers, and I think most likely DongRaeGu will prove the victor in this case. And slowly but surely he is whittling down all of the Stalkers. How many Stalkers do we have left? We only have about 10 Stalkers. We go to the unit count and see 12 Stalkers remaining, and it looks like all the Stalkers in this army have now been taken out. He does still have a number of Stalkers left alive, but they're way up here, and that's not going to help him at all. And this counterattack from DongRaeGu should end it. He is now up by 60 supply, and he doesn't have anything to do with those Zerglings, much less all of the Mutalisks that are above those Zerglings, as Ling Muta does do pretty well against Blink Stalkers after a certain amount of numbers are reached, especially with that huge amount of Mutalisks that he has. It's also worth noting he did opt to get 1-0 weapons on the Mutalisks. It's obviously for dealing additional damage, and of course it helps the bounce damage as well, as if you increase weapons by 1, it increases the second shot by a third of a damage, and the third shot by a ninth of a damage. Is that right? Yeah. But anyway, looks like Kiwikaki is going to have to GG out of this game. Very nice game. I want to say very poor game from Kiwikaki as opposed to a good game from DongRaeGu. That Muta switch was very intelligently well done, and it was very perfectly timed. It hit him at the exact wrong time, or the right time, I guess, for DongRaeGu, and the wrong time for Kiwikaki. But Kiwikaki really had a couple of opportunities to really take a hold of this game, and he just kind of had trouble. His army control was just not really perfect, and he was taking a lot of unnecessary damage in those final 2 attacks. But, you know, in general, he held off. DongRaeGu was attacking all sorts of different corners, and DongRaeGu really just ended up throwing away his armies a lot of the time. And just with a little bit of better control from Kiwikaki primarily, I think that Kiwikaki could have pulled ahead in this game. I think part of the problem also as well is that he did not get Blink nearly fast enough to deal with the Mutalisks. I think he just wasn't anticipating them at all. And the Twilight Council also was really needed in order for him to get weapons level 2, as he was sitting around the whole game at 1-1 weapons, and the Zerglings were at 2-1. And really, I mean, 1-1 is fine. Like, that's decent, but to make your Colossus really effective, you really want to have as many weapons upgrades as possible to deal, because like it increases their damage by 2 per laser per shot and the splash damage, so that's like a ton of extra damage that Colossuses deal when you do that. So very interesting game, and we're going to move on to game number 2. This is PG on Minecraft signing off.